This video is for you if you have tried meditation before and you feel like it just doesn't work for you. Maybe you get distracted too easily, you have too many thoughts, you can't shut down your mind, or you haven't felt the benefits. It just seems like it's for other people, it's not for you. And you're wondering what's all the fuss about, um, or you're beating yourself up, or you think you're different somehow and it's just not going to work for you. So I am an ENTP, analytical thinker type, skeptic, and I spent many years thinking that, struggling and imagining, sure, it works for other people. It's not going to work for me. Years ago, I struggled to even meditate for 5 minutes. I would, close my eyes, have the timer, and then I would open my eyes after just a few minutes and check how much time is left. And now I can comfortably meditate for at least an hour straight, often many hours. I go on multi-day retreats with many hours of meditation every day. So it is possible to change. And I'm making this video because after all the personal growth work I've done, after all the coaching I've done, hundreds of people, most of whom are, or many of whom are analytical thinker skeptics, I have really come to believe that meditation is the core, most important skill for all of us to learn and cultivate. So I want to help you if you are someone who feels like it doesn't work for you. I have many videos that talk about meditation, but today I want to talk about just a few aspects that I think you're probably getting wrong. So here's where I'll start. There's a lot of cutting edge science that's just come out in the last few years as more and more research, formal scientific research has been put into mindfulness practice and meditation. And so there are a lot of, really conclusive, promising studies coming out about understanding exactly what is happening in the brain. So some of this stuff might sound woo-woo, but everything I'm going to say has, direct observable reactions, activity happening in specific brain regions that are, scientifically measurable. And there's been this, emerging kind of unified theory of meditation across many studies that actually matches what a lot of ancient practices like Theravadan Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, other Hindu practices, what they teach about how to meditate and the different stages of meditation. And it's useful to think in terms of a few major stages, and to recognize that if you think that meditation is not for you, if you think that it's been useless, that there aren't any real benefits, you are most likely getting stuck at the first stage, and you've probably never experienced anything like the second stage, let alone the third stage and the fourth stage. So I think it's useful to see it that way, because it's kind of like if you are, you've heard everyone say, wow, piano music is beautiful. So you think, okay, I'm going to learn to play the piano. And, you learn some basic notes, maybe the most basic scale, and you say, well, I don't know, it doesn't sound very good. I guess piano's not for me. I've heard people talking about transcendent symphonies and like such beautiful, such impactful, inspiring piano music. But mine just sounds like, nothing special. It's kind of boring, just a basic scale. I guess piano's not all it's cracked up to be. That's because you're only at the very beginner stage. And meditation is different from a lot of other skills, where I think most of the skills that we learn in life are things that you can get to a fairly high level, get to see noticeable effects fairly quickly. Maybe after just a few weeks of practice, a few months of practice. And meditation is something that it's different than all these other skills, where it's just like a hobby that you can learn for a few months, move on to the next thing, master that after a few months, move on to the next thing. Meditation, if done seriously, is really a lifelong practice. It's something that getting to the fourth stage requires decades of practice, literal decades. I've done a lot of work. I've been meditating for almost 15 years, and I'm definitely not at the fourth stage. I maybe not even close. I've touched into the third stage, on occasion, but it's tough to get there. So I spend a lot of time in the first and second stages. And, that might sound daunting, like, oh crap, it takes decades to get there. But I think it's also commensurate with the benefits. I really believe that meditation is a pathway to the most profound transformation of your experience of being alive. Really understanding your deepest layers of self, really shifting your deeply held beliefs and changing how you approach every moment of reality. Allowing you to, instead of just having your mind run on some automated script, when X happens, I automatically respond with Y. Meditation allows you to slow things down and actually examine, X happened. Do I want to do Y? Maybe I want to do Z. Right? And so that applies to everything from, oh, my nose is itchy while I'm meditating. Instead of just scratching, do I want to scratch? Maybe I'm just going to not scratch. It's itchy, but interesting, it's itchy. That's that. I don't have to scratch. All the way to, my loved one died. And, instead of completely falling apart and just being completely controlled by emotions, I can notice, wow, this is intense grief. Here I am in intense grief. Wow, I'm really angry that this happened. So you're still feeling the feelings, but they're not completely controlling you. They're not completely overwhelming you. You're being with them. So it's more like you're kind of equals together instead of that thing grabbing you and completely taking over, completely controlling you. So meditation is useful in all these ways, from the very tiny moment-to-moment experiences of life all the way to dealing with the hardest possible feelings of life. So it's got that utility, and I've come to believe through many transcendent experiences that it really allows you to examine the actual fabric of reality. Like what is actually true about reality? Right? What is consciousness? What is matter made of? Like what is actually going on here? What is the cosmos? Right? I really believe that meditation is a fundamental path to finding those answers, not just reading them in a book, not just hearing about them from someone else, but really examining yourself. What is true? What is reality? What is the self? So that's what it's all for. And so I want to give you some practical tips. The first is there are, I want to say, like, there's no wrong way of doing it. Like, take off the pressure and just go easy on yourself as you're meditating. But there are some wrong ways to do it, for sure. If you are sitting way too rigid, if you're holding yourself way too tight, like I have to sit in this perfect position, I can't move at all, that's probably not going to help you if you're a beginner. So, my first tip is to notice if you're making it too hard for yourself. If you're requiring yourself to, I have to meditate for 20 minutes, or I have to sit perfectly still, I have to have my hands in like some certain position, I have to, hold my head perfectly straight. This is like the right way to do it. I have to have the perfect mat, the perfect cushion, You don't need any of that. All you have to do is just find somewhere comfortable, sit down, set a timer, start with 1 minute, and just close your eyes. Make it easy. If something feels tight, if something feels hard, just adjust. Don't be sitting there in pain, trying to bear it. Just make it comfortable. And start small. So the second thing is the first layer of those major rungs on the ladder is concentration practice. So you're concentrating on an anchor, something physical that's happening right now, something in your sensory experience. And you use the senses because the senses are always happening right now, right? What you see, what you hear, what you taste, that's always right now. It's not in the past, it's not in the future. So the goal of meditation, the core goal, is focus on the present moment right here, right now, and observe it. That's it. That's the core of meditation. And so most people use the breath because the breath is always there. And so you start by focusing on the breath, noticing maybe the air in your nostrils, or the chest rising and falling, or the belly rising and falling. All you have to do is notice that and just stay with that. Close your eyes and just focus on up, down, in, out, whatever it is, just noticing the breath. And if that doesn't work for you, you can use a different sensation, like touch. You can just press two fingers together, press your hands together, and just feel, what is the sensation? I feel this pressure here, these things touching. and focus on that. It could even be a sound. You hear the air conditioner running or a fan, and just hear that. Okay, there's the air conditioner. There's the air conditioner. There's the air conditioner. It could be visual too. You could open your eyes and just stare at a point. Just notice right there. And just stay. Maybe you're looking at the floor and you're focusing on a grain of the wood or a tuft of the rug, and you just stare at that for the whole minute. Just focus on that. So the whole thing is just focusing on a physical sensation to ground your focus on something. So, this concentration practice is a way of shifting your state, shifting the state of your mind. And state shifting is kind of like the difference between being drunk and being sober, right? Your quality of experience, how you're perceiving the moment, how you're processing information, what kinds of thoughts arise in you is very different if you're drunk or you're sober. So the goal of concentration practice, the first stage of meditation, is to shift your state into a more focused state. So that instead of all the thoughts just running wild, you're focusing down and the thoughts are quieter. There are fewer of them. They're moving slower, so you can observe them. And this is hard. It's really hard. So it's totally normal if you're getting distracted. But the goal is just to stay focused on a sensation. So the next thing is, while you're doing that, one way to think of it is one part of your awareness is staying focused on that physical sensation, and the other part of your awareness is noticing your mind, noticing your thoughts. So it's almost like that first part is kind of distracting yourself, right? It's kind of this thinking mind wants to be thinking. It wants to be coming up with all these thoughts, and so you're saying, hey, thinking mind, you want to focus on something? Focus on this breath. Notice this breath. Oh, you're trying to think, but notice these hands together. What do they feel like? What do they feel like? So that first part is distracting. It's keeping it occupied. It's focusing your attention on that. And then while that's happening, another part of you can be noticing your thoughts. So here you are, you're trying to focus on the sensation, and then a thought comes up. This is stupid. Is it over yet? This is a waste of time. Am I doing it right? I have so much on my to-do list. What am I doing? These thoughts are coming up, and that second part is catching them. All you have to do is notice. Yep, there's a judgment. Oh, there's a worry. Oh, I'm thinking about the past again. All you're doing is noticing. Right? So one part of you is staying focused on the present moment, the sensation, and the other part is just noticing. Yep, distracted again. Oh, yep, there's a thought. Oh, there's a thought. That's all you're doing. And if that feels like too much to do those two things at once, just focus on the sensation. And if you can, notice what's happening in your mind. Is my mind looping? Is it the same thought again and again? Is new thought coming in? New thought after new thought? Many new thoughts at once? Am I thinking about pain in my body? Am I thinking about what I have to do tomorrow? Just notice what's happening. That's it. And it's perfectly normal that all these thoughts are coming in. All you have to do is notice them. And so, that alone, that practice could represent months of work, right? And it's not black and white. It's not just like suddenly, you're really distracted and then one day you're able to perfectly notice everything. It's a long spectrum. So this should be a slow and steady process of catching yourself more and more and improving your ability to stay focused slowly over time. And sometimes, as you're trying to focus on the sensation, you'll have one thought that leads to another thought that leads to another thought, and you'll have this whole chain. And then eventually you'll notice at rung 5 of the chain, oh yeah, I'm far away from the sensation, so come back. And the more you practice this, you'll shorten that chain so that you notice it sooner and sooner and sooner, and you can come back. So that's kind of the progress indicator as you're going. And then as you're doing that, the practical benefit is that second part of you is learning about your mind. It's noticing what kinds of thoughts come up. Right? Am I judging myself all the time? Am I judging other people all the time? So that's what you can be learning about yourself. And then eventually, again, this might take a really long time, a lot of practice, but eventually you can get to the next rung of the ladder, which is more open awareness. And here you can kind of let go of the anchor. You can let go of having to stay concentrated on one sensation, and you just open your mind and let it be wider. Like, what is everything that's happening in my awareness right now? Oh, there's sensation. Yep, there's a breath. Oh, there's some pain in my knee. Oh, there's a sound. Oh, there's a thought. All this is just happening in awareness without judgment. You're not saying this is bad, this is good. It's just, there's a thing. There's a thing. And you're not attaching it to yourself. That's kind of the big unlock there, is it's less about saying, oh, my knee is painful. I hate this. I want it to change. I need to do something about this. And instead, it's just noticing, there's a pain signal. Interesting. Oh, yep, there's a sound. Oh, yeah, there's that pain again. So it's not turning you into an unfeeling robot. You still feel things, and you can notice, oh, wow, there's joy. That's a fun thought. Ooh, there's curiosity. Cool. So feelings are still great. You're just noticing everything that's happening with openness. And this is not a state that is easy to stay in. Right? It might only last for a few minutes or a few seconds. You might go in and out of it, and all of that's normal. And then, after lots and lots of practice, you can get to the later stages. Stage 3 is more kind of non-dual awareness. So it's kind of blending the line between self and other. Instead of thinking there's me, and then there's all these things around me, it's starting to see, well, there's just energy. There's just cause and effect. There's just stuff happening all around, inside me, outside me. It's all just affecting each other. It's all interconnected. It's just reality is happening. And that's an even rarer state. And then you can get to stage 4, where some really weird stuff starts happening. You might go to some other reality. Your consciousness might just turn off. It might shift into something entirely different. I can't describe it because I've never been there. I just know, I've read accounts of people who have gotten there. Yeah, it sounds like there's some really interesting phenomena that can happen in that stage 4. But for now, I just want to, explain this idea that if you think, oh, my mind works too quickly, I have too many thoughts, I can't meditate, it's not for me, it's because you're stuck at the very early stage of that first one, right, of that first rung. And so that's just a question of practice. Keep trying it, and notice the small improvements over time that you're able to get distracted a little less often. You're able to catch that chain of thoughts a little sooner and bring it back to the sensation. So above all, just go easy on yourself. All of this should be gentle. How do I make this easier? How do I make a comfortable position? How do I only do it for 1 minute, right? When 1 minute becomes easy, turn it up to 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. And all you have to do is just focus on that anchor, whatever it is. Breath, any of your senses. And just keep trying to stay focused on that. And remember that that is not the end goal. Right? That might seem like, oh, great, so I can focus on my breath for a long time. Who cares? But remember, that's just stage 1. That's the very beginning, to prepare your mind to shift it into a different state so that you can move to stage 2, the open awareness, just taking everything in with non-judgment. And once you can do that really well, then you can move into stage 3, where you start blending different aspects of reality and see some of the deeper truths of the reality that's always right there, right under our nose, but we usually can't see because we're not in that deeper state yet. So I hope all that helps, and if you have any questions, be happy to answer them in the comments. I'd love to hear how all this lands for you, if it feels convincing, if it still doesn't, if you still think you're an exception or some part of this doesn't work for you. I'd be happy to help. I hope you have a nourishing day.